Good morning, friends. Today we're going to be transplanting my jujube tree that was gifted to me from my dear friend Steve Velez from Silmar Agricultural Program. My husband got a little ahead of himself because I asked him to move this tree up the hill since we're going to be putting it on this hillside garden. When I came outside, he was already climbing the hill, but I stopped him because it's a much easier way to transport this tree. We're just gonna tilt it on its side, and since it's being transplanted, we're going to just get it out with the roots and carry that so we don't have to carry all the excessive soil that's full of water right now because it's been raining the last few days, and the weight from the container as well. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm explaining to him that we are going to tilt it and just take the tree with us. As you can see here, it's very rooted. I couldn't pull it right out, so I'm gonna have to stomp it a little bit with my foot. That way it can loosen up all the soil that's attached to this container and also the roots that are going way down. It's better for you to stomp it and loosen it up that way than for you to pull it and break more roots than you actually need to. I was actually pretty surprised with this tree. I thought that it would have a lot more established roots, and as you can see here, there wasn't that many. I mean, I thought it would be full of roots as big as the container, but it wasn't. So once we did this, we carried it out, and it was so much easier to carry it to this hillside and walk it to where I'm going to plant it. As you can see here, we're in the middle of winter and there's not much green on this hillside, and I'm about to start changing that because I'm going to be adding a lot more trees to this hillside in the next few months, right before spring or at springtime. Just depends on what tree I'm going to be transplanting. Dormant trees can handle transplant right now because they're dormant. There's not going to be much disturbance, and that's what we're doing right now with the jujube tree. You might be wondering why there's a string running across the hillside, and I'm about to explain to you guys because I have an exciting project on this hillside that I'm about to share with you guys.
Hey friends, so as you guys can see, I decided to put in my jujube. It's technically considered like a bare root since it's the winter and it's not really doing any growing, but during the winter most bare roots do tend to grow some roots, so I'm going to give it a head start and put it in here. It's not going to cause any damage from it moving and transplanting it during the winter, especially since they're kind of dormant. So I ran out of my EB Stone product. I'm gonna give this new product a try. It says here that it's great for vegetable, fruits, herbs, and flowers, organic root enhancer, pure, fresh, alive, and it's the mycorrhiza. Those are great for the soil and for the roots inside your containers or in your ground, wherever it is that you decide to put your plant. So I'm gonna give this a try and see if it helps this jujube to get established. I'm super excited about this. It's a new product. You guys know I love EB Stone, but I saw this, and this thing everybody talks about because we all know that the mycorrhizas are amazing for the roots and for the biology of the soil. It helps everything network and actually really just do well. So as you guys can see, the jujube didn't have that many roots as much as I thought it would. So I think that it didn't like the soil that it was in, which is the EB Stone soil. It could be that it was retaining too much moisture for the jujube. Jujubes are known to be drought tolerant, so maybe it will do better in the native soil that I have here. So I'm going to put it in this spot, and I'm just gonna start putting some soil down. As you guys know, that you don't want to basically bury the trunk because you don't want any kind of moisture retention and rotting out the tree. So I'm just going to be very careful by doing this. Probably lift this up because the hole I dug was way too low. Oh, you guys might be wondering why I'm not putting a cage. Well, I'm gonna take a risk and see if the gophers are a little deterred when it comes to this jujube, because jujubes tend to have very long tadpole, and also they are a little bit of what you might consider an aggressive grower, which means that the roots will shoot out everywhere and also actually shoot out new little sprouts from the roots. So I feel that with aggressive trees, I don't think that the gophers might like. I don't know, it's worth a try. I did have a little tiny jujube plant that sprouted from this tree. I dug it out of the container where it was sitting and living in, and I put it in a little pot. It grew, and then I eventually put it on the other side of this hillside garden, and it was thriving and growing, and it went dormant. So we're gonna see what happens in the spring when it starts to wake up. So we will see. I did protect this tree with Ivy Organic product so it can get protected from the sun, because even though here in California we get really you know, rainy days. Actually, we don't get really, what I meant to say is we get really sunny days even in the winter. I'm gonna protect it from sunburn, because even in the winter you can get sunburn. Have you guys ever been to the beach and you're sitting under a cloudy day and you come home and you have a really bad burn? Well, the same thing happens with trees during winter on really sunny spots. So this tree is getting protected with Ivy Organic, and I'm really hoping that it thrives here. Another thing that I'm doing is I am creating a shape heart in this hillside by selecting where to plant my trees and my edibles. I'm looking for a plant that is evergreen, so it stays green all year round and it looks pretty. It's something that's fruiting, and it's a bush-like plant that's low, so that way I can still go over it when I'm trying to get to other trees on this hillside. And I'm thinking I'm gonna try to get some bush pineapple wabas, because you can grow them as a tree or as a bush and they produce fruit. So, and they say evergreen, and they seem to, my pineapple waba seems to be thriving right now in the winter when everything else is just dying and looking terrible. And it's even growing new leaves, which is bizarre because it is cold and it's been raining and we've had a lot of frost the last few days. So, hey baby. Joe just helped me carry this up, as you guys seen. He's waiting for me so we can go back inside because it's starting to get cloudy and shady. Anyways, so let's go ahead and finish digging this up. The hole that I dug actually was deeper than I needed it to be because the root ball wasn't as big as I thought it would be. So I'm going to put some soil under it, and then after I do that, I'm going to put the tree in. So let's see what happens. As you guys can see, that is way too deep. I want it to be sitting like right there. So I'm going to backfill this hole with the native soil that I already dug out. And it's sitting right here next to me. And I do see some, I put some other stuff. I'm gonna get some wood chips to help it, and I'm gonna put some more mycorrhizin because, as you guys can see, I'm already digging up the mycorrhizin that I put in there. So see some worms. I'm seeing this root very deep, very thick, and I think because it's very thick, I'm going to aim it towards the back because that's where the most soil is. This way there's not that much soil, there's the plastic, so I want to make sure that it thrives. So now that I think it's at a good height, I'm going to a little bit more mycorrhizin. Perfect. I think that this jujube is going to be much happier in this soil. It's native soil. I'm going to make sure that the soil is pretty compact so all the roots have contact with the new soil that it's in. Also, I'm not going to worry about watering it right now just because all of this soil is completely saturated from the rainwater, which is
one of the best water you can give your trees. I'm also going to add mulch, and I'm going to see if it rains again. If it doesn't, then I will start the drip system and ensure that this little tree gets some good water.
Alright friends, so of course one of the last things I'm going to add after adding the soil and compacting it in, it's been raining, so it was perfect to dig up the hole, and it was also perfect because there is moisture inside the soil. And now we're going to put mulch, as you guys can see right here, to help retain that moisture. This was the original mulch that was sitting in the container with this jujube. So I'm hoping that we can grow some strong roots while the winter's happening, and once summer and spring hits, that we're gonna have lots of jujubes. This tree really needed to get potted. It's been a minute that it's been in a container. It does not like containers. This is one of the trees where I wouldn't recommend that much to put in a container. Okay, well, two things. I wouldn't recommend it if you have the space. If you don't have the space, yes, container is a good idea, but it's gonna have to be in a container bigger than what I had it in, because it was just not thriving. The soil, I would add more of cactus mix versus the EV stone for fruit trees, because this tree does not like a lot of water unless it's root bound and it's constantly thirsty because there's not enough roots all around it. So it's very important that you guys consider all those factors. Is it root bound? Is it in a big container? And that's going to determine how much you're going to water this jujube if you have it in a container. If you have it in the ground, it's basically going to do its own thing. Once it gets established, you need to probably just water it once a week. Add mulch, because that's what's going to help retain the moisture in the soil all around, not just where you're watering. That's very important. That way it allows the trees to grow, the tree to sprout its roots everywhere throughout where there's moisture. And it's going to do that if you have good soil. If you're working with good soil, the jujubes are not necessarily picky about their soil when it comes to how much nutrients is in there and how much compost and how much like real good stuff in it, like compost, good matter in it. And you can put it out basically in any soil, but not one that retains a lot of water. And if it does, just make sure that you don't put a drip on it on a daily basis, maybe once a week or every other week depending on the weather. So those are just a few tips about the jujube. I think it's going to do great here. He's going to be part of the partnership that I'm building, and let's see. This is gonna go right there. There's the middle point. I know you can't tell, but it's gonna go all around, and right where that yellow stake out there, that's gonna be the middle point. You can see the rope coming up, and this happens to be one of the dirt lockers that's gonna make that heart shape. So I'm super excited about that. I'm gonna continue to add a few trees that go dormant, stone fruit trees, on this hillside. Now that I've kind of sectioned it off, I think the heart shape is gonna not only look beautiful, but it's actually going to add some division among this hillside, so I can do sections once I have a layout. Like this section can have a minimum or a maximum of 4 trees depending on the space and distance between them and what else I have growing out. It's going to give me an idea to where I want to put some trees. So far I've been doing, like, say I have a key lime here, I put a key lime there, low quad there. I'm about to put another low quad outside the dirt lockers. But there's a few trees that I don't have double of, so that's where this heart is going to come into play and help me choose. Like this tree I'm going to put in here. Like I have my queen nectarine. I love the queen nectarine. That's like my favorite tree, my favorite fruit from the very beginning when I started gardening. I absolutely love it. I definitely think that it needs a new home. It is a dwarf variety, so I think it's going to do great in this hillside because it won't grow that much, and plus I'll be able to maintain it a dwarf style by doing proper pruning and doing it right. So I think I might go ahead and put that one right there. I already dug up a hole for a tree. That's another thing. I have you guys know the name of this tree. You guys have seen it in all my videos. I'll try to put it right here on the screen because I forget every single time. and there's a row that I'm gonna just follow. I'm trying to kind of make it different, but also follow lines just so it could be aesthetically pleasing, and also consider whether they're trees that go dormant and the leaves fall off, or it's just a tree that's going to stay evergreen. So I'm trying to create, for example, a line here of mostly evergreens. There's going to be something in the middle of it erupting this line here, which is a Jujube tree, and that's fine because I'm going to be putting the other dirt lockers that are going to follow the heart evergreen. So there's going to be a circle of evergreen for the winter that won't really make a huge difference when it comes to this when it goes dormant in the winter. So I'm trying to play so that way play with dormant and non-dormant plants that go dormant and not dormant, evergreen or not evergreen. That way the landscape can look pretty year-round. So you can see all of these tomato plants died. The frost got to them. So far, since I had plenty of space to grow somewhere else, I'm letting it be because it's kind of providing kind of like a mulch for the soil that's there, which is what I need. Another thing that I need to do is bring mulch up here to help with with soil retention, breaking down, feeding it, so that way we can have a good organic matter all throughout this hillside. And the trees that I'm planting, as you can tell, I am definitely putting mulch. I'm not putting mulch in the lavender because lavenders do not like a lot of water, so I want to just leave it freely. Lavenders do really well here in Southern California, so I'm not putting mulch with those. There's some plants that do not like a lot of water, however they do like watering, and especially during the winter right now, when it's raining, it would retain excessive water, and the lavenders will not be happy. So for now, I think I'm going to leave it without mulch. Maybe eventually I'll change my mind, and when I'm ready to do more work on a regular basis, maybe I will add the mulch, and when winter comes, I'll move it from the closer to the actual crown of the plant. So that's where we're at, guys. Here is my Jujube tree. Mr. Liz gifted me this. He is a wonderful man who is a teacher of the agricultural in Silmar Center High School. He is an amazing guy. He has gifted me tons and tons of plants that I'm going to be planting here in this new year 2022. I've done a lot of work. You can see it, but then again, you can't tell. Some days I'm like, wow, you can barely tell, but that's because all the plants that I planted were plants that were only going to be good for that season. So I need to start pulling down, really focus on these trees, so that way when winter comes, everything doesn't look so sad. I am planning on doing another garden right in front of all my citrus inside that corral, because I figure that when it comes to refeeding and refilling soil here, it would be a tremendous job every year. And I'm realizing now that with these dirt lockers, it looks amazing. However, for vegetables, it would just be too much work. So I'm trying to get this hillside established. I'm going to put a lot of fruit trees up here because it is easier to climb through here with the steps, and you can harvest plant being safely up in this hill. So I think this is going to be an amazing fruit edible hillside garden, and not necessarily a vegetable. I do plan on some of them using garlic and onions because the gophers seem to not really be attracted to that. So I might have sections like in between the fruits all around, and just that's where I'm gonna grow my garlic and onions and things that the gophers don't go for. And I think that's a great idea. So my goal is to plant another garden, but it will take money and time. So I'm gonna start saving for that garden and see where it goes. That's what I asked for Christmas. Just little gifts here for the garden, and I'm super excited that I did receive a few. So hopefully I can continue to receive and continue to save, so that way I can grow that garden maybe next year or maybe the year after that, because it will be a pretty penny. For now, I'm going to continue to focus on this, and I want this to be full of fruit trees. So far, I have a couple. You guys see my key lime. I have a little baby Jujube over there. On that side, I haven't really added that many fruit trees, but I have the Jujube berry right there. I have a pomegranate that I put over there, another key lime, my jujube, and also my pineapple guava. This calamani, I believe it's called. Like I said, I'm sorry, that's the one tree I never remember the name. I'm not a big fan of the fruit. I'm just going to use it as limes because it's really not sweet at all, and it's not like a kumquat where you can eat the skin, so it's okay. We can use them as a lime. So that is where we're at, guys. I'm super excited that today on New Year's Eve I came out here to spend some time in my garden, which I haven't been doing often because I've just been focusing on enjoying my family and the time that I'm home, when I am home and I'm not at work. And I'm trying just to end the year with not really working too hard. I'm trying to just, when I'm home, enjoy the moment, admire the landscape, dream big, and strategize, you know, like goals that I have in the garden. Just I've been doing a lot of thinking, trying to take my time, not trying to rush through things. I came out here, it got sunny. It was really sunny earlier, starting to get cloudy again because it's been raining the last few days, so I haven't been able to enjoy being out here also. So I do got to say that this was very refreshing to come and put this jujube in, and it's been bugging me. This jujube needed attention, and today I just got the energy and time. It was just like I have nothing going on, want to go out there and do one thing before the year ends, and I feel really good about starting the year this way. I made some notes on things that for next year. Like there was a lot of things that I felt like I was behind this year. Like I was doing everything last minute, and I didn't like the feeling throughout this year. I felt like maybe I should have made a list from the beginning of the year and be prepared for the upcoming events and plan a little bit better, so I'm not really behind the 8 ball and rushing, and last minute things are so stressful. So that's my goal today this year, to really so I talked to you guys about budgeting and how to do your bills, save money, touched about mortgages a little bit. So one of the things that I used to do that I didn't do last year is I used to have a book with all the things that need to get done throughout the year, like registrations, when are they due, because I want to make sure that I budget for them. I want to make sure if there's anything that I owe money on, I want to try paying it off before the year ends, or make it a goal to pay it off in the first few months. If we have birthday parties coming up, start saving. You know, do an envelope and put $20 every week or every other week, or however much that you could put whenever you can, and just start saving towards that next event. If you have kids, if you guys are planning a trip, make sure that you guys are saving for it. Make sure that you guys are looking for good deals when you guys are planning something, so when you plan ahead, you tend to find better deals. Or sometimes you're looking for good deals and something comes up and you're like, you know what, this would be much better. You could do so much more with the money that you're working and save for towards your vacation or your trip. And you know, it's okay if things change and they don't go exactly how you plan, but the idea is that you guys plan ahead and you guys are actually doing what you guys want to do, and not doing things last minute. And like I mentioned, last year it just felt like everything was so rushed. The year went by so fast, everything was so behind. I was playing catch up. I was like, oh my god, I forgot about this, I forgot about that. And then you know, things got done, but it wasn't like oh, that felt really good to getting it done. It felt like, oh my god, I got it done, I'm thank god, you know. So I'm hoping that you guys are thinking about these things for next year. I asked, my husband went to the DMV, I asked him to find out when our registrations are for every single car, because I mean, I can go back to my old bills and figure that out, but you know, if you guys have an easier way to get it done, then you guys can get it done. So figure that out, figure out when your new your warranty is going to be over for your home, when your, you know, any bills that you guys could think of that come up throughout the year. Don't let it be a surprise. Be prepared for it and be ready for it. So start thinking about that. Maybe that could be one of the things you guys do tomorrow. You know, most of you guys aren't working. I have to go to work, unfortunately. But if you're not working, just make sure you take a minute to do that. Prepare for the year. Don't let the year, you know, run you over and just make a mess. The world already has enough messes to worry about. So just prepare what you can prepare, and whatever comes your way that you're not prepared, then you'll be better off that way. We have a guest here. He's always my guardian while I'm out here in the garden. He's a fun cat. My daughter took him in. Now he sleeps in her room every night. She used to be allergic, and now she's no longer allergic to at least him. So, well guys, I hope you guys are enjoying your new year eve, and we get a fresh start of the next year, and prepare for it, budget for it. Think of any unexpected things you guys had this year in 2021. They might happen again next year, you know, so they might not be unexpected anymore if you can somewhat predict them. And always give yourself a little wiggle room with an emergency fund, because trust me, every year we know it, we've experienced it, something happens, something's always happening, so might as well be prepared and ready. And if for some reason you feel like, you know, there's nowhere I can cut to, or there's nothing out I can't save for that emergency, then go through your budget, go through your bank statements, figure out what is it that you're really spending your money, highlight everything that was unnecessary, like Starbucks, or getting that morning donut every day, just for a few months, cut it off, save, and then you can start fresh. So you know, I'm not saying not to enjoy life, I'm just saying to take a break from certain things, sacrifice a little bit so you can be better off in the future. Well, now that I'm down here, I'm so excited that it looks amazing. Look at that, it's just a stick, but I can already see this line of lavender with a jujube tree with tons of little leaves coming with jujube plants. You can see how pretty it's starting to look this side of the garden. It's more green and it looks more beautiful when it's evergreen. So I'm definitely gonna work on that heart-shaped heart. And that's another thing, if I do decide to go with this type of plant, bush style, this is a tree size. Let me show you how this tree hasn't skipped a beat. Look at new branches, new growth. Like, this tree is so hardy. If you live in a colder climate, this tree is very hardy, as you can see. And apparently it roots really well. I put all the cuttings here as mulch, and look at that, one rooted. I'm gonna dig that up in spring and use it as part of my heart. And now that I know that when I need to give this tree a trimming, I'm gonna try to propagate him. But I will have to save up money for the plants that I'm gonna buy to start putting them, because I did the math, it's gonna take 30 of them. It could be a pretty penny if I buy them all at once. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this. I'm trying to figure it out as I go, but for now this is the plan. I'm gonna budget and save for it, and maybe for my birthday I can ask for some money for plants. So that's what the plan's going to be. So this is where I'm at. Jujube, it looks just like a stick, but you come and see when spring comes and summer, this jujube is gonna look amazing. Maybe I can use this clip so you guys can see the before and after, and I'm super excited. Well guys, I know I just talked and ramble, and I do that often. I haven't done it in a minute. I'm inspired by the New Year's Eve and happy to be putting a new tree up there. I just want to tell you guys to have a happy new year, have a blessed day, say your prayers, set some goals, and do what you can. I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Well, these are the clips that would always be under the at the end of the video. I'm gonna try to do this to show little side notes. Look at this, it rained so hard last night, and it rained this morning, and as you can see, this is not draining very well. So the soil here retains a lot of moisture, which teaches me a couple things. One, that I don't need to water my plants that are in the ground as much as I think that I do, as much as I think that I need to water them, because the soil is holding that moisture. One. Two, I gotta be careful what I put in the ground, because as you can see, if there's a plant that doesn't like wet feet and a lot of moisture, I need to be careful. I either have to amend it with a lot of soil that drains really well, or I just have to not plant it in the ground, period, or do a mount and plant it above this ground. So just a quick little tip to know, maybe when it's raining, dig a hole and find out how long it takes for this to drain. So I'm gonna come back tomorrow and see if it's drained, if it doesn't rain tonight. And obviously if it rains again, then I can't gauge it that way, but I'm gonna come and see once it stops raining the next day and see how well this drains. Look at my strawberry fig tree. it still hasn't completely gone dormant, because here in southern just broke that. Here in Southern California, we still have warm days even in the winter. It's bizarre. You think that it's winter, and then it turns out that you get a sunny day in between, so it really confuses a lot of the trees, and sometimes the trees just keep growing like that. So everything's looking great. Right before I go back inside, oh, let me see if there's water over here. Oh yeah, there's some water here. This is where I'm gonna put a tree here. I just haven't built new cages. Let me see. Oh my god, I love these flowers. But I really gotta go inside because it's starting to get cold, and I need to bring Chesty inside, as you guys can hear him bark. But before I go, I'm just gonna pick a fruit for myself, and I probably should grab another one because Lily sees me eating these and she's gonna want one too. And these are so delicious. I'm picking them as I'm going. I know that the few that I'm gonna have left for spring, these are gonna taste so wonderful. All right guys, I can talk forever. Have a blessed day. See you in the next one.